What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Dynasty Talk Podcast. I am here with my trusted co-host, and that is Let the Wookiee Win, Chris Crack.
Hello there.
And that's it. It is me and you today, Chris. I know I was absent from the last show, but we are back in full swing with the most important people on the show. I think we can say, right?
I think that's highly debatable. Based off the reactions from last week, it sounds like you maybe though. It sounded like they didn't like not last week, our last podcast. People were begging for Lucas to be back, so
Man, I
your
knew I had a
prayers have been
following.
answered. It was mostly just Ricky. Mostly just Ricky.
Yeah, I knew I had a following, and I knew about at least 20% of the listeners really wanted to bring Lucas back, and it made me happy to hear that I have so many fans out there. So, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button to subscribe. We'll give you more content every single time we feel like making this podcast. I guess I should say, because we don't really have a time frame for when the next one will be. But we're making it happen tonight. Malcolm bailed out for a risk game tonight. Nate is going to a comedy show or something. I don't
I
know.
believe it was
Then we're
with Ricky as well.
with
So
Ricky too. Yeah, just conversing with the enemy. Just ridiculous. But let's jump right in. We need to get right into the rankings. Rankings are not kind of what we expected at the start of the year, except for kind of the top two specifically. Maybe the top three, maybe the top four, or maybe even the top five for all we say. But let's just jump right in. We got number one. That is our reigning champion. That is Robert Fife, and he is sitting at 8-1, and he leads the league in points.
yeah, that one's not a surprise, obviously, for anybody. He's still on his high from last year winning the championship. So
Yeah, his team has not gotten any worse. There hasn't been really any injuries. It's really just been, outside of Nick Chubb, of course. Since Nick Chubb, of course, just make sure we don't get it blown up in the comments section. But yeah, he hasn't had any injuries since then. Derrick Henry has been pretty healthy. Jamar Chase is playing. Joe Burrow has kind of come out of his funk. Everything's kind of coming up Millhouse for him. So uh, don't really have anything negative to say about his team, and I think his team is probably in line for another shot at a championship.
yeah, I mean he's got a chance to join the repeat and two-time club. So hopefully he doesn't achieve it, but
It is a select club, like Golden Jackets or being an SNL host. It is very few people get into that select club.
this is true.
Well, that takes us to number two, and this is a guy who also has a championship. So if he was to win this year, he would also be in that select club. And that is Tom Foolery, or what the hell was his name this time? I don't even know anymore.
You gotta
Um,
call him for his free reading. Damn it!
yeah, Miss Cleo, free reading. But Tom
It's
is
only three
seven and
minutes. After
two.
that, you gotta pay per minute.
Oh, you're a Libra, aren't you? Um, Miss Cleo, he is sitting at 7-2 on a four-game winning streak, and he is third in the league in scoring. Really nasty team. He just got a little bit better, I think, as well, with Jonathan Taylor coming back in full swing and signing a massive contract. He picked up Taysom Hill, I think, out of free agency not too long ago, and that's turned out great for him. Just things are working out for him. Jameer Gibbs is having a back-to-back just monster games. He had KJ Osborne the moment that Justin Jefferson went down. Things are just working out. Jake Ferguson, just everything.
Well, then
Outside of Anthony Richardson,
he also has Austin Eckler is coming back, getting healthy. You got Deontay Johnson's coming back healthy. Like, yeah, he's
yeah,
Jameer Gibbs is gonna be frightening when he gets back on the field. More to come about him later, but yeah. That team's that team's good.
yeah, and AJ Brown, the number two wide receiver in fantasy right now.
Oh yeah,
He did,
him too.
yeah, he has reminded us all that he did make AJ Brown available, and we all kind of snuffed up our noses at that, and here he is, just destroying us every week. So Tom just keeps on doing what Tom wants to do, and it's working out. So go Tom. Moving right on. That takes us to Fly Society at number three. He said he should be at number six. Not sure where he got his numbers from, but we put him at number three, and he is the second highest scoring team in the league at 1242, only behind Fief by about 14 points.
Yeah, Malcolm always likes to try and downplay his team to do the whole reverse psychology, but it hasn't worked for him the last 2 years. So
No, it
he
hasn't.
just needs to realize his team's good. And
Yeah, and he's made trades to make sure that he was in a championship run again this year as well. That's how he ended up with Tony Pollard. But yeah, it's worked out in his favor. I think he's got some high ceiling type of players in his flex areas as well. T. Higgins obviously being one of those, Gabriel Davis being another, Javante Will or not Javante, Jamal Williams coming back. I think there could be some points there to be had. And Alexander Madison's been playing pretty well too. So uh, I think Malcolm's got a pretty strong team, and I think he could also put up another contention for a championship as well. I think these top three teams are probably the three of the four main contenders. Like I feel like maybe 90% of the money should be on those four people.
yeah, I think the other two, I think the odds are much better personally.
You think between one and two over three and four?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a perfect segue for number four. Let's just talk about number four next. I agree. I think they're all kind of in the same tier, but yeah, you're disagreeing with me. You think it's a separate tier here. Um,
I think there's one and two, and then there's three, four, and five are right there.
ooh,
If any one of those teams gets hot when the playoffs come, yeah, they can definitely win. But like right now, the top two teams, they could have players have off weeks and they can still win.
yeah, I just don't see much of a difference with this team. I am a big fan of this team. I think when this team is hot, they are going to be really, really good.
Yeah,
I look at this team up and down, and there is not really a problem I see with it. I mean, on his starting roster, his lowest performing person is Chris Godwin. And that to me excites the shit out of me because I think Chris Godwin is fantastic. So his bench is leaves some to be desired, which is might be his only weakness. But right now, currently on his bench, he's got Cole Kmet. I'm not really sure why Cole Kmet's on his bench right now. I know he had a bad week. I lied. That's this week. He's coming off a 20-point game. Not really sure why he's on his bench right now. But moving right on, I think it's a good team.
yeah, I do too. He, and he's actually. I mean, once again, we need to quit making fun of his third round picks because he got another. Well, actually, this might have been second round pick. But yeah, Rasheed Rice, we all made fun of at the beginning of the year, and it looks like he's probably going to be pretty damn useful him here in the back half of the season. And if Montgomery comes back and gets at least 60% of the usage he had before, um, that's going to be a huge addition to that team.
Yeah, just let's just talk about your dad's drafting real quick because I mean your dad's not one to make a lot of trades. We've talked about this in the
Yeah,
past. He's
never
been
has.
very very conservative. He wants to keep the players he drafts. But I'm just going to run through this with you real quick. Here are players that your dad has drafted after the second round has already started. Ready?
Yeah,
Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, George Pickens, uh, Rasheed Rice, Darren Waller, and that's it.
yeah, it's a lot of really useful players outside of the first round.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
Like really good. I mean, Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, those are all three his starting wide receivers. Um, and Jalen Waddle obviously included into that as well. He's playing. He's on a bye week right now. But yeah, three of his top four wide receivers were all drafted in the second round or later. That's not something that happens very often. I think some of us have some players on our team like that, but I would imagine that most of our best wide receivers were probably drafted in the first round of our dynasty leagues.
yeah, or traded for.
Yeah, or traded for, correct. But at least drafted at that level.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think we kind of got off subject for a little second, but Ricky is number five. We have him. I'm sorry, I forgot his name already too. New League, New Rick, or Very Fragile Bras, something like
yeah,
that.
he's very
Yeah.
fragile, bras.
very, very fragile Bras. I will give Ricky credit for always having a South Park name every now and then. So I assume that's what that's based off of, the Bras. But let's uh let's look at his team real quick. I know he's got Justin Fields coming back, and I think that could add a lot of value if Justin Fields comes back strong. But Dak Prescott's had an okay year. He's almost top 10. Alvin Kamara's come back really strong, stronger than I think any of us could have imagined. Um,
D Hop's looking good right now, assuming
oh, D Hop.
Will Levis. So like
Oh,
a slight sidetrack. Will Levis, I don't know if he's good, but he's at least smart enough to understand if I throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins 10, 15 times in a game, I'm probably gonna have a pretty decent day. So I think that's gonna be good for him in the future. Joe Mixon's looking like he's getting like now that whole offense is starting to work. Like yeah, that's and Tyler Lockett is just Mr. Consistency. So
yeah, agreed. I'm playing him right now. Adam Thielen's already got 1.5 points on me with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. So, I mean, he's not a player that I feel like a couple losses will derail his playoff chances either. Like, I think that he could still sneak into the playoffs and still be a team that could easily win in the first round against anybody. So,
I think
yeah,
he's pretty solidly in. I don't think there's going to be any sneaking. If there's any sneaking in, it's going to be me or Nate, and I don't know if either one of us want to be there.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like both of you are have a pretty decent chance of getting in front of him. There's a lot to be played still, but anyway, I think he's going to get in regardless. I'm not
Yeah,
talking about missing the playoffs. I don't think that's really a storyline in the first place.
yeah.
Um, However, number six could they could miss the playoffs. That is Eric. That is the Valyrian Steelers at 5-4 right now. He is fifth in the league in scoring. So we have him at number six, but he's fifth in the league in scoring and at 5-4. Obviously, Jalen Hurts has been one of his best players on this team for the last two seasons. Jalen Hurts playing very well. He's the number two quarterback, very consistent and
Well,
a
I
big
mean,
chunk of.
I'll say yeah.
Sorry, what?
But like this team, it's carried by a handful of people, and that's what always makes it seem so like it's hard to say
Well,
it's one of the best teams because you're carried by Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, C.D. Lamb. I mean, now Josh Jacobs, but he really hasn't been most of the year. But yeah, like
yeah,
you've got those guys that are just putting up massive numbers every week, and then everyone else is doing enough. Like, and luckily
yeah,
Tank Dell has kind of hit, but Najee's been a huge disappointment for that team this year.
Yeah, Dalton Kincaid's hit as well in recent weeks, just to
True.
point that out as well.
Oh,
Trey McBride kind of coming into his own.
both the tight ends are hits, but like it's still back to tight ends. Their ceiling is kind of capped. There just always is, unless you're one of those three.
Agreed. Agreed. I
Um,
mean, he doesn't have the depth that the other teams we just mentioned as well.
yeah,
Um, he just doesn't. Tutu Atwell is one of the players that he consistently somehow has to end up in the flex spots. Zach Ertz is another. I mean, it's a team that has some minor flaws, but overall is just a has so many good players on it right now that it overwhelms all the other problems with it. And again, it is a high scoring team, so it's hard to really say that this team won't make the playoffs. I think they will, and I think that they're a team that could make a run, but I think are less likely than Ricky and all the other four top four.
yeah,
Um,
it's less likely, but once again, like if those top 4 or 5 guys all of a sudden catch fire, but like I think a lot of those teams in a position where like they're not going to be pushing those guys late in the season either. They're all playing winning football right now. All those teams are going to be in the playoffs. It's just a matter of if they're jockeying for position.
yeah,
But that's too far away to
that's a
think
good
about.
season now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if
agreed.
that's gonna be the case. I uh I think that takes us to number seven. That's you. Let the Wookiee win. You're 4-5. You have 1082 in points, which makes you exactly where you are in point rankings at number seven. I think there is a lot to like about your team. I think the quarterback in Tua is exciting. I think Bijan and James Cook are great at the two wide running backs. Chris Olave, you did a great job of picking up, drafted free agent Trey Palmer. I had dropped him after drafting him. Um, and Khalil Shakir, nice pickup last week. T.J. Hawkinson's been great. I mean, Jalen Warren, Kendre Miller, Cortland Sutton, and then of course the Sun God. Um, but there's some holes. I think there's some players that you were really excited about that really haven't hit. Like for instance, Greg Dulcich. Uh,
Bottom half of my roster is a lot of decisions have to be made in the off season. But yeah, no, Dulcich just he hasn't played. He's been hurt. He finally got back on the field and played for like a quarter and got hurt. But like It's whatever. That's a tight end. I'm not too concerned. I already have a tight end. That was more just insurance policy. That's not
Yeah,
the Jameson Williams situation is a much bigger issue for me currently.
yeah. Marvin Mims as
Kendry
well. I don't
Marvin.
think Mims is really excited at you as much as you thought he would.
I mean he is when they fucking give him the ball. Mims, but Mims I didn't pay that. I didn't. Anything that I have in the second round, I'm not really too concerned if I miss on those. I just don't want to miss on my first round picks. Is kind of where I'm at.
True.
Kendry Miller, I'm still patient on. Like I'm not worried about that yet. But yeah, Jameson Williams is a little concerning. But I think there's so much talent there. Hopefully he, stops acting like a child, from what I hear, and goes to work. But yeah. Other than that, my team's just very up and down. It's inconsistent, so it is what it is.
Yeah,
Not a bad thing for me. I'm still in a rebuild. The rebuild started last year. This is year two. Next year's really the final year. After that, I can't have any more excuses. There's no more rebuilding. Um,
yeah, I understand exactly where you are in the process, and where you're on the process. This is a perfect place to be. Um, you know your team has the capabilities of putting yourself in the playoffs, and you're just like, on the cusp. And you've still got a lot of draft capital to make that happen in the next couple seasons anyway. And again, we've been talking about this before. I know that you've got a plan of longevity. Your plan is not to just be in the playoffs and get there and take your chance now. Your chance, you want to be there for the long term, and that is why you've played this the way you have. So yeah,
just got to be right now.
that takes us to number 8. That is the 5-4 Trumpelo Bills, and that is Nate. He's got 1065 in points, which is exactly eighth place in points, and he's already got 4.8 points tonight in tonight's game with Donta Foreman. Donta Foreman playing pretty well. I like Nate's team. He's got some strong rookies,
Let's
and
let's
Will
just go.
Levis the starter this week. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
we can just go ahead and say it for Nate. Um, Definitely the best draft probably of the year between A Chain and Puka Nakua. Kind of hard to argue those two. And oh yeah, Jackson Smith and
And Jordan
Jigba
Addison.
and fucking Jordan Addison too. Yeah, fucking Christ. Well
Yeah,
done. Well
he
done.
had a
I'm
pretty good
glad you're
draft.
not here because if you were here, I wouldn't say it. But yeah, fuck.
Yeah, he's had a good draft. It's kind of made his team the way it is now.
That's why he's got
Uh,
5 wins right now.
yeah, he did a good job drafting rookies this year, and he had a lot of capital. So I mean, he had a lot to work with, but he did it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty impressed with Nate's team. I think he's going to be pretty good going forward. I will say I'm impressed with him, even though I just beat him. So I'm not really sure how that happened, but he did have a couple buys, but so did I. So yeah, that's an unfortunate loss for a team that could be making the playoffs. Um, Bill is number 9. He is bubble algae, and he is 3-6 with 1028 in points. And after number 9, it's a serious drop off to the next player. So Bill is about as much on that cusp of that next tier as you could possibly be. The next tier is a serious drop off to the rest of us.
Yeah, everybody else seems like they're trying to lose. Um,
Yeah. Except I'm not.
yeah, no,
It
yeah, you're not.
just seems like it. Well, I don't want to skip over Bill or anything, but I do like that Bill has Kyler Murray coming back. But I also like that Bill has found something in Sam Howell, and he is confident in Sam Howell. He plays Sam Howell every week. It feels like he doesn't ever falter, and
Well,
it's worked out.
the other options are Daniel Jones. So
Yeah, but he's made the decision every week, and he hasn't tried to go pick up somebody at a free agency while there's Zach Wilson there with some strong matchups. He hasn't played that game. He's like Sam Howell every week, despite how the defense looks on paper.
I think he would like to have a high draft pick is part of the reason. But like Rashad White's been looking very good for him. Um,
Yeah.
Brian Robinson is still consistently pretty fucking good. I mean, he's enough, but
Yep.
and Sam Laporta has been fucking awesome. So
Yeah, I look at him. If Bill does make the playoffs this year, it's going to be from the
no,
play of the players we mentioned before.
absolutely not. I'll make that call. He is not making the playoffs.
I'm saying he could. But it could, if he was to do it, it would be on great play from Tyler Boyd too. Now that T Higgins has his hamstring injury as well, I think there's that. That's a big decider as well. If Tyler Boyd has some of the big games I know he's capable of, I think he could shock some people and make a run at the playoffs in the late. If you're saying he's going to tank, I don't believe it. So that takes us to 10, 11, and 12. 10 is myself, 11 is Julius, and number 12 is Matt. Any of those teams you want to talk about?
Um, no, I mean the only reason Max is at the bottom this week is because Max has done a very good job of trying to make sure he doesn't win a lot of games with making some of the moves, but he's put himself in really good positions for the future because
Yeah,
he's got a couple nice young pieces, but yeah, he's gonna have a lot of firepower in the future. So curious to see what Max does.
he's got a lot of draft capital. He's done well to take some of those players that he had and turn it into future draft capital. He's got only one first round pick next year, or in this draft coming, and that is Fife. He does not have his own. So this tanking will not help him. Just want to point that out. However, he has his first round pick next year as well as Malcolm's, and he has his first round pick in 2026 as well as Ricky's. So he does have future first as well, but he does not have his own.
He'll be fine.
Just saying, he's another one of those players that could be picking high that doesn't have their draft pick. I am, of course, another where you have my pick. So, yes. Um, That takes us to Julius, who does have his pick,
Nah,
as
I just
well as a
we
bunch of other people, including Max's.
yeah yeah
So
he
there's
does.
that. So Julius could end up with number one and number two, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, he has his own, Malcolm's, and Max's. So Julius could finish 101 and 102.
Well, he's gonna have 101 and 103 because you're gonna finish second.
I find that pretty hard to believe, but if you want to speak it into fruition, I guess you could try.
It's gonna happen.
Uh, that takes us to the final rankings. We're done with that. We're moving on. Um, Chris, let's go into something a little different. Let's talk about let's talk about the rookies specifically. But who is your most exciting rookie at the halfway point of this season?
The most exciting is probably Devin A. Chain, just because the little bit we've seen of him has been so good. Um, I'm curious to see what that turns into. It's definitely wrong about that, but yeah, he's been very, very exciting to watch.
Yeah, I can totally eat crow on Devin A. Chain. I did not think there was any chance he would be even a quarter of what he was in the couple of games that we watched him dominate. But yeah, Devin A. Chain drafted at 109, one of Chris's most exciting player. I'm going to take it a little bit different direction. I'm going to take the guy that was drafted at 102, and that is the Detroit Lions Alabama product, Jameer Gibbs. He has back-to-back games with over 23 points. 23.1 and 27.4 in the last two games. Last game he played, he rushed 26 times for 152 and a touchdown, while also having 5 receptions for 37 yards. The week before, he had 10 receiving targets. I am all in on Jameer Gibbs. I think the Lions are going to do everything they can to give him the ball, and I think he's so fast and so electric that they are going to see some big plays from him.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Dave Montgomery is going to have something to say about it, though.
Yeah, him coming back could change some of that. I do agree. All right. Well, next category. Who is your biggest disappointment of the rookie so far?
Um, so this one was a little bit harder. Like Bijan seems right because at 101, but then you look at points scored this year and he's fourth among rookies, so it's kind of hard to put him there. But I said it was Jackson Smith and Jigba. He was the third pick in our draft. He was the first receiver taken. I think he's the seventh or eighth rookie receiver right now. Um, it just we were all so certain it was gonna happen at some point. Like I get it, there's competition there, but the Seattle situation doesn't seem nearly as good as it did when the season started. So yeah, that one's been disappointing because I thought he was gonna be like really freaking good, but
Yeah, we've seen these rookie wide receivers kind of show out, and he has not been one of those.
Yeah,
It,
luckily Nate saved that 103 pick by taking Puka Nakua and Jordan Addison. So he saved
yeah,
himself.
and Devin A. Chain. But yeah,
Well, yeah, but I just mean receiver wise.
no, I knew what you meant. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to take it in a very similar direction in a lot of ways. And mine is Zay Flowers. Of course, I'm the one who drafted Zay Flowers at 106. It's not so much for Zay Flowers has underperformed because for me, I have watched Zay Flowers very closely, as you can imagine, me putting a lot of stock into this player. And this guy is open so much. And he was getting a lot of targets early on. The very first game he played, he had 10 targets. He had 9 receptions of those 10 targets, by the way. Um, and every game in the first 6 games, he was very consistent. And then something happened. All of a sudden, he has 72% of the snaps. And that has continued for the last 3 games. And it is enraging. It is insane to see all of a sudden why they believe that they're going to throw the ball to players such as Odell Beckham or such as not even Rashad Bateman. I don't can't remember who the other guy is they've been throwing the ball to so often lately. I'm already having a blank. But then also using Isaiah Likely, who I cut at the beginning of the year. It's just it doesn't make any sense. I can't complain about it wholeheartedly either, knowing that they're one of the best teams in the NFL right now, and they've been proving it in every single week. But Zay Flowers seems like he is open every single play, and I just want to throw things at the screen when I see Lamar Jackson missing him, and maybe that will come down to a situation where later on Lamar is like, oh, I've got this security blanket that's always wide open, and he's really fast and has incredible hands, but that just hasn't happened yet. And the last week was 1 catch for 11 yards, and that was his only target. And it was a great catch, by the way. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I knew I was like, what the hell? This guy gets 1 catch in the second half, and it's just a very impressive catch, regardless. But everything Zay Flowers does on the field is impressive. He's just not getting enough work, and that's frustrating. So that's why he's my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like he's a player that's on your roster.
Yeah, well, that was my time to go on a little rant there, a little soapbox rant. Um, but that takes us to most surprising player. And what's your most surprising player, Chris?
Puka, easy. Puka is he's been so awesome. I got lucky. I picked him up in like every other redraft league every league except this one. I feel like I have Puka in, and it's been amazing. So like yeah, man. Like we've talked about it. It's not like I didn't think I could draft him in this. I just didn't really pick in a spot where I was willing to take him at that early, or as early as not even that Nate took him early. It was like the end of the third round. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm so mad at
I just
us
had
not
no I
taking
had no third round picks. I probably would have done it in the fourth, but it was unlikely he was going to be there. But yeah, man, by far no one expected that. And like even after Cup came back when Stafford was still there, it was like yeah, it's still good. So
It's still
yeah,
happening.
yeah, definitely him.
Yeah, and just for the sake of this argument, I did pick somebody different, but Puka would have been my choice as well. But me, I did not think anything of Jordan Addison. I thought he'd be one of the biggest busts of all the wide receivers in this draft class, and I feel again like I've eaten crow. He was drafted at 108 because I didn't take him at 106, and I believe somebody took. Was Eric that took Dalton Kincaid at 107 right after that? So that's why he didn't get taken at 107. Um, but yeah, Jordan Addison has been fantastic with Justin Jefferson there or not there, and he looks like he is somebody who doesn't matter if he's 175 pounds. He is just really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jordan Addison is my most surprising. That takes us to our number one category of today's for the rookies. Who is your MVP?
So I think I looked at it a little bit differently than Lucas was after I had said, but the literally the seventh ranked rookie and the fourth ranked tight end as a rookie. But yeah, it's Sam Laporta, easy. Like nobody is more valuable than a fucking tight end that's actually producing in fantasy. I feel like that's why people like Kelsey and Andrews, Hawkinson, like some of those, they go so high in your redraft leagues. It's because there's just very few that are good, and if he's already doing this, Yeah, yeah. I just don't think that's something you see very often. So, and I'm excited to see him like after the bye, and now it feels like they're willing to really start going to him more.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Sam Laporta, another great choice. And for those statistics you gave, number four tight end as a rookie, and the number seven of all rookies as a tight end. Either way you word that, it sounds impressive, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. It doesn't happen very often. With that, that did not happen with T.J. Hawkinson.
Nope.
That has not happened with really anybody, maybe outside of Kyle Pitts.
It
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
Well, mine again, I probably would have taken Puka Nakua or maybe Sam Laporta, but for sake of the argument, I wanted to add a different name into there. And this is again somebody who I did not believe in the slightest, and mostly because this person has shown a ridiculously high ceiling. But that is Tank Dell, and that is Eric's pick again. Baby Huey 88. Tank Dell is 165 pounds. He has two games with 23 points or more. His most recent game, he was the wide receiver one. He had 85% of the snaps in that game, by the way, so didn't even have full snap count. But finished wide receiver one with 11 targets, six receptions, 114 yards, and two touchdowns. And I believe one of those was the game winner.
Yeah. I mean, as a Bucks fan, um, not a huge fan of Tank Dell, but I get it. It's still too soon to talk about, so
Yeah.
let's get this topic over with.
Well, that's it for our midseason rookies. That takes us to the third down. This is something a little bit different today. I don't think we've ever done this specifically the way that I'm doing this now. But Chris, you are going to answer some questions. Pretty much, we're going to steal something from fantasy footballers. They don't have this trademark, to my understanding. We'll check with Deucer's Alley.
we're
But it's
we're
I
not
want to
making
play.
it. We're making no money off of this, anyways.
Yeah, Andy, Jason, Mike, please don't come after us. We really only have about 12 subscribers. I don't imagine there's going to be anybody that's gonna hear this and think that maybe we rip you off in the first place. But just in case, go easy on us. But I want to play a game. That is my Saw reference. I'm going to ask you some questions, Chris, and I want you to tell me who the player is. I'm going to give you some identifying characteristics based on statistics, and you're going to tell me who they are. And we're going to start out with somebody who's been playing very well. This person is the number 10 position at their rank. I'm sorry, the number 10 rank at their position. They have 105.5 points. 105.5. They have six receptions for 107 yards and 478 yards rushing for seven touchdowns.
They're the 10th ranked player.
Correct. The 10th ranked at their position, which is obviously running back.
You said 17 catches.
No, I said six catches for
Oh,
107 yards,
okay.
no touchdowns. So six for 107, no
Yeah.
touchdowns. 478 yards rushing and seven touchdowns.
Ugh. Is it David Montgomery?
It is not David Montgomery.
Ugh.
I'll give you one more chance at this question.
7 rushing touchdowns.
Yes, seven rushing touchdowns. Correct.
Jesus Christ. Is it Kyron Williams?
It is not, although this player is ranked one spot ahead of Kyron Williams, who has not played the last 2 weeks. Kyron Williams is ranked at number 11 among running backs. This player is Gus the Bus Edwards.
Damn. Yeah,
Uh,
I know he had that 80-yard reception.
yeah, that 80-yard reception has skewed those numbers entirely. I'm sure you heard six catches for 107 yards and thought this guy was fast. That is not the case. Gus Edwards caught that one catch that you're referring to, and that has skewed his numbers entirely. But Gus Edwards, number 10 running back on the year. Very odd year for Gus Edwards. That takes us to number two, and this is a little bit different. This player is also a running back. So back to back running backs here. This one is the number 23 running back. They have 88.2 points on the year. They have 22 receptions for 110 yards and two receiving touchdowns, but only have 502 yards rushing for one rushing touchdown. Who am I?
Bijan Robinson.
It is not Bijan Robinson. You get one more. You get two guesses. I guess is the rules to this game.
One rushing and two receiving. That's it.
Correct.
And their number what rank?
23.
Ugh. Um, Jonathan Taylor.
Good guess. No, this is in fact Saquon Barkley.
Ooh.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley,
Ew.
number 23. I thought that was surprising, and it's clearly due to lack of rushing touchdowns specifically. But you would think of, Saquon Barkley as being a better receiving option than that as well, I feel like. Again, the receiving yards are only 3 yards more than Gus Edwards in total receiving yards. Yeah, Oh, well, we're done with running backs. We're going to go into the wide receiver category now. This wide receiver is number 53. 53 wide receiver, okay? They have 58.3 points. They have 27 receptions for 328 yards and two touchdowns. Okay, and I got one more little extra fact to give you in 1 second as well. Hang tight with me. I didn't write it down for some reason. So you heard this points, and obviously this person's here for a reason. This person has missed one game, so this person has missed time in the past, but this season has only missed one game. And an extra hint: they are on a prominent offense, and this player is 24 years old.
Man. 24?
24 years old, correct? Is a wide receiver, the 53rd ranked wide receiver,
Wait, how
58,
many touchdowns?
two touchdowns, 328 yards receiving. Prominent
Is it
offense,
Jameson Williams?
well-known name.
No, he's too young.
No, James Williams has nothing near that many
Yeah, I would
points.
say I would say he's only got. He still has. No, yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah. 24-year-old on a prominent offense who has had a history of injuries but only missed one game this year.
Kadarius Tony.
It is not Kadarius Toney. I don't think Kadarius Toney's anywhere near that amount of points either.
Yeah, yeah. I don't pay attention to the 53rd ranked receiver that much. Sorry.
I feel like you paid some attention to this player in the past, but this player is T. Higgins, none other than Fly Society's T. Higgins. Of course, injured now, but yeah, finishing before this injury at the 53rd ranked wide receiver. Interesting. It's been an interesting year in Cincinnati.
It has
Um,
been.
Tyler Boyd, of course, has more points than that, I believe, as well. I've not fact checked that, so I may just be spewing nonsense, but I believe Tyler Boyd has more points. That takes us to Marvin Mims. I'm just going to throw out this number real quick because I did not write down enough for a trivia question for him. But Marvin Mims, just a shout out real quick: 11 catches, 246 yards, and two touchdowns. Very odd statistics for a rookie. 11. You heard me correctly. 11 catches for 246 yards receiving and two touchdowns. Yeah, it's been an
How
interesting
many
year for
return
Marvin.
touchdowns does he have? Just
I did not get that.
I
Does he
think he
have
just
one?
has one. Yeah,
Yeah, I think he just has one, but I did not get that amount of points. His points did make him the 71st wide receiver.
on 11 touches.
Yeah, 11 touches, 246 yards on 11 touches. Yeah, something along the lines of 22 yards a catch. Like that's insane. Um, that I think that's everything we got, unless we want to do some water cooler talk.
I'm just curious why the NFL decides to put Thursday night games on that make your eyes bleed.
Yeah, I do
It,
not
it,
have Amazon Prime in this hotel room, so have not caught any of this.
I like how they constantly keep cutting back to showing Kirk, Al Michaels, and Jason Kelsey in the booth. It's like, why is the game that bad?
Well, looking at the statistics, something does make me immediately mad. It's the fact that Jonathan Mingo has no targets, but yet somehow Mike Strachan, who was elevated from the practice squad earlier last night, it looks like, has a catch for 45 yards receiving. So that's frustrating.
It's not frustrating at all. Actually, it's music to my ears.
Yeah, I bet it's music to your ears because you had a fear of missing out on what could have been Jonathan Mingo.
And I don't anymore.
Yeah, it's been disappointing in Carolina across the board, and I'm now living in Carolina, so man.
Hopefully you can bring your Jaguars juju with you.
Well, anything else you want to talk about, Chris?
No,
Well, I know if Nate was here, he'd be asking what TV shows you're watching. And I know before the show started, you mentioned you were watching For All Mankind. So Chris is now an avid supporter of Apple TV. Please check out For All Mankind. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be back whenever it is that we feel like coming back. I will be in hotels a lot lately, so I will probably have a lot more free time to do these again. And if Chris is up for it, we won't need the whole team while they're out going to comedy shows and entering themselves in Hasbro tournaments. We're
it's
just
a lack of commitment, is what it is.
yeah, man. I mean, I can't speak totally on that subject after missing the last time, but I was going through a move at the time, so we'll see. We'll see how many more of these we can get out here before the season's over. I feel like we can get at least two more out there, maybe three.
Probably.
Either way, we'll be back for the playoffs no matter what. So don't get your panties in a wad. We will be back before the season is over for sure. But we're gonna shoot for two or three. I feel like three is an honest goal for us in this conversation. So
Should be.
we'll just throw some numbers out there and hope for the best. But yeah, Chris, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Oh, I got something to add. One last real quick. I don't know if you guys have been watching college football at all, but Florida State seems like they're back.